studios of the legendary NewsRadio WRVA, this is Richmond's Morning News with your host, Rich Herrera.
Thanks for joining us this morning. This is Richmond's Morning News on NewsRadio WRVA. Thank you very much for that report, Gary. I want to follow up on something that Gary talked about, and that is Cheryl Minter. If you didn't see the video yesterday, I got a little bit of a clip. We'll play an extended clip that I have for you this morning. So, who is Cheryl Minter? That's mom of Stephanie Minter. Who's Stephanie Minter? Well, that's the woman that was brutally stabbed to death in a Northern Virginia bus stop. I'm going to connect the dots on all of this for you, and it's going to make you retch, and it's going to make you sick to your stomach. Because all we've been talking about for the longest time, and basically since I took this job, is immigration policy and ICE and DHS. And now we see DHS shut down again. I think this is the third time they've shut it down. This is the third government shutdown we've had as Democrats and Republicans dither and fight and argue, and the Democrats will throw a temper tantrum, won't fund our government. I pay my taxes, but you won't fund your government. But all of that fails in comparison to what the Minter family has gone through. Because this policy debate for us resulted in a funeral for them. Let me explain. There's a man here illegally. Okay? Orders to deport, but he was released over and over and over again. And while he was released, he committed crime after crime after crime. And the police up there said, hey, Commonwealth's attorney, this is a bad guy. We need to keep him off the streets. The system already made the call. He had an order to be removed. And that's where this policy and this dithering, this arguing, and this ridiculousness about protecting our people comes into play. But this policy only matters when it's enforced. In this case, it wasn't. And it left a young woman standing at a bus stop who woke up that day like any other day. Her mom woke up that day like any other day. And that night when they went to sleep, only one of them did, because one of them was dead. It's not about disagreements or debate. It's about the decision that existed on paper and showed up in real life for this family. Take a listen. So there you hear it. The mother says, we have to do something. You can't keep letting these people that have long rap sheets here illegally back out into the street. The Commonwealth attorney says we can't comment on this because it's an ongoing investigation. Basically, it's policy and we're not going to get into it. The reality is the policy wasn't enforced. The laws on the books aren't being enforced. And a young innocent woman who woke up that day, was getting ready to take a bus wherever she was going, never made it onto the bus because she was stabbed to death. Because we keep arguing, sanctuary cities and their nonsense continue. And if it weren't for that, this person who's accused of this murder would not have been on the streets. He would not have been at that bus stop, and he certainly wouldn't have killed her daughter. So for the Commonwealth's attorney, we don't comment on ongoing investigations. And to all the supervisors we've talked with, to the governor and the General Assembly who has more bills that will open up the doors and Pandora's box for things like this to happen. It's not just policy you're talking about. It's not just immigration policy we're talking about. We're talking about human life. We're talking about protecting the American citizens. And when that policy isn't enforced, it stops being a policy, and there's consequences that come with it. And I don't know if any of you understand the consequences that are going along with this game you keep playing. The Democrats don't want to enforce our immigration laws. They push back against ICE. ICE are such horrible people. Why are ICE horrible people? Because they go along the border and they battle with the cartels? Because they find if someone is here illegally, they will enforce the law that's on the books? I'm sorry, folks. This is what happens when we decide we're only going to obey the laws we like. Because that's basically what this boils down to. I don't like your immigration policy, so I'm going to have a sanctuary city, sanctuary state, and we're not going to cooperate with you. Why? Because I only want to participate in the laws that I want. I'm going to choose which ones I like, and the ones I don't, I'll stand up against. But I won't go and try to change those by law. Now, I'm going to do things like not cooperate, not not cooperate with ICE, not have detainers, and have ICE go out in the street. And then when ICE goes out in the street, we will protest, we will harass, we will get all over them, we will stop them from doing their jobs because we don't like that law, and we decided we are not going to follow that law because, well, it's one that I don't like. Society doesn't work that way. We don't get to pick and choose which laws we get to follow and which ones we don't. Logically, if there's a law, we all follow it. We might not like it, but we all follow it. What if I decide that, I don't think I want to follow the law when it comes to the rules of the road? Those lines they have painted as arbitrary paint that they have on there that tells me which lane I'm supposed to drive in? What if I told you today, I don't really like those. I find those to be, something I just don't appreciate. And I've decided that I am not going to follow the lanes. I'm just going to drive wherever I want, and you guys can all go jump in the lake. And I'm just not going to do it. And what if I had a city or a county or a state that said, you know what, Rich, we agree with you. We think these are arbitrary, capricious. We're not going to follow these either. You just drive whatever way you want, and we're just not going to enforce that law because we don't like it. Chaos ensues. In that chaos that we have here in Northern Virginia, and now throughout the Commonwealth, now that we've stopped cooperating with ICE, and we play semantics by saying you have to have a judicial warrant in order to hold somebody, and we all know, and I've learned, sitting here in this anchor chair, that we treat immigration law civilly, not criminally. And we hear that all the time. Oh, it's just a civil penalty. It's like a parking ticket. Okay. Then why is it when you want to hold people that are here illegally, that have committed crimes, you're asking for a judicial warrant? Now you're asking for a criminal warrant. So on one hand, you tap down the seriousness of them coming into the country illegally and say, oh, it's just like a speeding ticket. But then if I want to hold them because they've committed a violent crime, you say, well, you've got to go get a warrant signed by a county judge, by a judicial warrant. You know the two don't play together in the same sandbox, yet you use this to give you an excuse why you really shouldn't enforce immigration law, and you use this to make forcing immigration law next to impossible. We're doing that here in the Commonwealth of Virginia right now. But again, this is all nonsense over policy and which laws you want to follow. But here's what upsets me more than anything else. Your policy nonsense led to this woman's death. They say it very clearly. Your policy nonsense, your policy arguing, your policy dithering, you're deciding which laws you want to enforce and which ones you're going to try not to enforce, led to her death. Your attacking ICE and DHS and villainizing them helped lead us to where we are right now. And I pray to God that no one else ever has to have this happen to them. Because for Cheryl Minter, she's asking questions. What happened to my dear daughter, Stephanie? She's asking, why did this happen? Who was responsible? How did this happen to my beautiful daughter? And she's demanding answers from the governor and the General Assembly and from the federal government, and she has every right to. This man should have never been in the country in the first place, and even if he was in the country illegally, he had an order for deportation. He shouldn't have been here. And if he wasn't here, he wouldn't have been able to stab her daughter to death. So as she asked that question, why? Who's responsible? How did this happen? I'm going to tell you right now. It's all of our fault. Because we let her down, and we let her daughter down, and her daughter is dead. It's all of our responsibilities. Because we continue to allow this nonsense to happen in D.C. And I know there's a bunch of you that are going to go, no, it's the Democrats. No, it's the Republicans. No, it's on all of us. We get the government we deserve. But I'll tell you, for the Minter family, they deserved a lot more than what we gave them. So instead of arguing over policy, let's argue over how do we best protect the American people? How do we best protect that family, your family, my family? Instead of arguing and worrying about whether TSA lines are too long and whether Congress gets special front seat passes to the beginning of the line at the airport. since they can't fund Homeland Security, which would help find people like that and get them off the street. So hopefully there's another family that isn't going to have a tragedy like the Minters. We all let them down. You want to comment? 833-804-1140, 833-804-1140.